Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday. Isn't the weather fantastic? We're having beautiful, beautiful weather here in Ireland, and I believe in the UK as well. And it's just glorious. For me, it has really shown Ireland up, or Kerry, in its best light, in its true colours, and it's just stunning. So I hope that you're enjoying the weather wherever you are. Welcome to my Monday messages. And for those of you that don't know me, my name's Rebecca, and I'm a QTT personal development coach, mentor, and a homeopath. And I use all three methods to help as many people as I can to be as healthy and as happy as they can be and stay that way. So my Monday messages is really part of my commitment to that. And I just pop in here at 10 o'clock on a Monday and share some kind of thought or focus or idea or simple practice, something to help you through the week and encourage you to lead your best life, to be able to communicate as well as you can what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, both to yourself and to others. So this week, well, first of all, I wanted to say apologies for not popping in last week, but I was too busy celebrating a rather large birthday. So it was my 60th birthday last week, and I had a lovely, lovely few days, surrounded by family and by a few good friends. And it was kind of laid back, kind of chilled. The weather was so glorious, though. We enjoyed every bit that Kerry had to offer. So lots of swimming in the sea and eating nice food and just sitting in the garden and enjoying good company and the sunshine. And that was just luxurious for me. I loved it. It was a time of kind of gentle reflection and just memories, thinking about everything that's happened over the 60 years of my life and what's made me today. And it kind of made me laugh that one of the things that popped up was a couple of pensions that I set up many, many years ago have come to have matured. That's it. That's the English. They've matured. And obviously when I set them up, I had this vision of 60 as being ancient and, you know, I'd be well on my way to retirement, whatever that meant, and I'd be really, really old and incapable of all sorts of things. And clearly I am none of those things. I don't actually really know what retirement is. I don't feel the need to retire from anything at the moment, certainly not life. I can see there's a couple of people on, so you're very, very welcome. Thanks for joining me. And if you're watching the replay, then you're equally welcome. Do pop your comments or questions in the thread below. But yeah, I in celebrating my 60 years on this earth, it made me think about change and transition and how we do that as human beings. And obviously change means lots of different things to different people. And it can be a time of gentle reflection, of looking back and celebrating what has brought you to where you are today. And just maybe doing a little bit of shifting around, a little bit of gentle house clearing, just recognising maybe some of the stuff that you might have been carrying around with you for a little bit too long, getting rid of it, processing it out of your life, and just making space for new experiences and new ways of being. And that is something that I'm quite aware of at the moment. I do feel that, I don't feel the pressure or anything, but being 60 has kind of made me think about, well, okay, what do I want for the next couple of decades of my life? What kind of life do I want to lead? So there's a sort of little gentle percolation going on, and that does take a bit of my energy. And when you're processing any kind of change like that, it does take your energy, it takes your attention. And if you are somebody who is maybe not choosing to change, but is having change enforced on you, it's maybe too strong a word, but it's just something that you haven't consciously chosen, maybe. It can be actually a time of chaos. It can be a time of fear, anxiety, grief, even, grieving for what you are perhaps losing and fear of what you're having to take on. And that can take a lot of energy. And if you're not able to express that using language, then it can actually produce physical symptoms. And this is something that I see a lot in the children that come to me for help and support, or their parents bring them along. And it's particularly relevant at this time of year, when we're thinking about going back to school. Now, I'm aware that for many people, that's still very much up in the air, and that's actually quite unsettling in itself. So for children who aren't able to actually fully process what's going on in their worlds, the thought of, especially after the long summer, normally, having to negotiate a whole new set of changes. So going back to a school where they might be in a different class, they may have a different teacher, they don't really know the teacher, they perhaps don't know the other children that they're going to be with, or maybe don't know them as well. They've maybe lost touch with their school friends over the summer, and they're needing to reconnect with them. So there's kind of social pressures, and there's also obviously academic or learning pressures. A lot of children find it very difficult to sit still for long periods of time, for example, or they find it difficult to be in the kind of traditional school learning environment. It's not something that suits them terribly well, so there's an enormous pressure on them for that. It can be that some children and adults just need extra processing time, and having to do that creates all sorts of things like, general weakness, so falling prey to things like coughs and colds, perhaps chestiness, ear infections. Some children will kind of express their anxiety or their fears by having nightmares or interrupted sleep. Perhaps, children need to come back into your bed for the night, having been completely independent for a while. They might suddenly start going off their food, or perhaps eating too much food, or having other digestive issues, bowel changes, things like that. Or it can be mood changes. A lot of kids are actually really quite angry about having their nice days with their mum and dad, or one of their parents, or just being at home, having that interrupted and having to go back to school. That can bring up a lot of anger and resentment. So there can be kind of lots of meltdowns and tantrums. Or some kids really just don't want to be apart from their parents, so they get very clingy, very weepy, very easily upset, and need lots of hugs and extra TLC. All of those things, very, very common, very easy to address using homeopathy, which is one of the things that I do, obviously. So what many of my regular clients do is they may not need to bring their kids in for anything specific at this stage, but they bring them in before starting school for a kind of MOT or NCT, as we call it here in Ireland, just to check that everything's okay, that there might not, there might not be something lurking, some anxiety, some fear, anything like that. And a well-chosen remedy can actually help support the child, rebalance them, strengthen the immune system, and just generally give them a kind of unseen, natural helping hand. So I just wanted to remind you of that today. Just, never too early to bring children in, just to prepare for the autumn term, the winter term. It is a tough term anyway, never mind the current circumstances. And obviously, in these current times, there's lots more unknowns than usual. So if you do have a child that struggles a bit with going back to school anyway, then I would really think about, what can we do to help them before it becomes a crisis, before they start to manifest symptoms. So I would love to hear what your concerns are, particularly, to do with your kids going back to school. Maybe also it's about you. There are a lot of mums, particularly if you've got very young children who are starting school for the first time, or maybe kids who are transitioning from primary to secondary school. Those are quite big transitions for a lot of kids. And they're oftentimes when children get just really unsettled and they just need an extra helping hand. And homeopathy can be brilliant for that. So to bring them in beforehand and make sure that they have all the tools they need to negotiate those changes is a really good exercise in healthcare. Prevention is always better and easier and cheaper, actually, than cure. So don't wait until your child becomes ill or gets into a pattern of being anxious. Bring them beforehand. Now's the time to do that. If you want more information on that, on homeopathy or on working with me, do pop to my website, and the address is in the post with this video. And you can actually register for a free phone call with me, so we can have a chat one-on-one about your individual child and homeopathy and how I can help. Maybe that you need the help too. As I said, some mums find it very difficult to have their babies going off to school, being apart from them. And maybe that's coming up for you, particularly after this very prolonged period of having your kids at home. Maybe there are other fears and anxieties that are coming up for you as well, if you've had them at home for that, several months now, and this is the first time that you're kind of sending them out into the world. What are your worries? What are your concerns? If you find that you're unable to process them, or you're really getting stuck in them, then let's chat, let's talk, because I can help. So change, it can be full of good things and it can be full of difficult, challenging emotions. It's a kind of process that we all go through. And sometimes changes are big, sometimes they're small. Sometimes they can actually be very, very beneficial and we can see the benefit in them. And sometimes they can be scary and daunting and, full of fear and anxiety. But there's no need to struggle. If anyone in your family, if your kids or you are finding the thought of transitioning into going back to school, getting back into that routine, is bringing up lots of fear, anxieties, just unsettled feelings, then you don't have to be on your own with that. You can get supported naturally and gently, and you will be able to cope with whatever life throws at you and still retain your personality, your character, your integrity, if you like. So think about working with me, if any of that's resonating with you, but particularly for the children. I think, now more than ever, they do need extra support. And even if they're not particularly worried about going back, look out for those physical symptoms, because sometimes they're the flags that tell you that your child is actually struggling a little bit with coping with everything. They may not be able to verbalise it. They may not have the language to actually say exactly what they're feeling, but often their bodies will tell you, their behaviours will tell you that something's not quite right. And homeopathy is just lovely for helping to sort that out. So that's my kind of Monday message, really, is don't forget homeopathy. And don't forget that there is help out there if you need it or if your child needs it. Have a lovely, lovely week and enjoy the sunshine. I hope it's set to last. I daren't look at the forecast. And do let me know if you've got any particular issues that you're concerned about. Pop them in the thread below or message me, or, as I say, just register for that free call and we can have a chat. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Take care.